This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what we're looking forward to in our pre-Rogue One recording. And we are live at TCL Chinese Theatre IMAX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen. Welcome to Neverland.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow.
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers! Welcome to Skywalking Through Neverland. We are the Star Wars Disney podcast that bring you fun-filled stories from the creators and fans. And right now, we are recording right outside of the the TCL Chinese Theatre IMAX.
Yes!
I had cue cards. Finally, for the first time, and Rick Peralta standing right over here, too. He witnessed it. We'll be talking all about Rogue One in this episode. We're going to have a round table. Right now, we're going to be talking to people and hear about their pre-show excitement and what they think will be happening in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story.
Yes.
All right. And now, before we move on, let's everyone say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, that's me. And I want to welcome everyone for joining us, whether you're listening live now on Periscope or whether you're listening later and just joining in the excitement of a new Star Wars movie with us. And we love it when you tweet at us. And we are at Skywalking Pod on all social media platforms.
Yeah. And we're also joined by who, Sarah?
We're joined by Dave Scale.
Hey.
Ghost host, rebel spy, and all-around Skywalker of the week.
Yes.
For the entire year?
For the entire year, the all-around Skywalker. And we're also being joined by Rick Peralta, who's holding an umbrella over us because it is raining right now.
Hey, Skywalkers.
It didn't start raining until we started recording.
Yes, of course, right?
Holding the Periscope camera is Kai Charles.
Hello.
All right, so let's get some fan reactions from over here. Chris! From Star Wars Underworld, here is Mr. Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey, I brought a Kit Kat for everybody.
That's for everybody. That's one of those Halloween fun-size bars.
Take a mini lightsaber and just cut it up into 5 pieces.
All right, so we're about, an hour away until entering the theater, where we got a 2-hour wait for Rogue One. What is your excitement level right now?
It keeps going back and forth, to be honest, because I don't want to be too overhyped. But then again, I'm hearing so many positive reviews and raving reviews from fans, and it seems like the only people who don't like it are people who aren't fans. So everybody that I know that I respect their opinion has given it a raving review. So it's hard for me to go in with, level expectations after that. So I'm super excited, and I'm just mainly I'm excited to see it with all my friends. I mean, that makes the experience even better. It augments it, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the first time that you're seeing it here or any movie here?
Exactly. I have never seen a movie. I've actually never walked into the Chinese theater until I did a few days ago for this. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
really?
for a real treat.
Yeah.
We will arrange a private screening for just you if you go over to that guy who's dressed as Darth Vader on Hollywood Boulevard and turn off his microphone.
And there's a Kit Kat in it with your name on it.
I'll use the Force from here.
Well, being avid listeners of Star Wars Underworld, we know that you know your stuff. You know Star Wars backwards and forwards. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to all the connections to everything, to Clone Wars, to Rebels, to the original trilogy, to the prequels. I've heard that this movie really ties a lot of that together. So I'm just really excited to see how many things I can spot that ties this movie to the rest of canon.
I'm glad you said prequels.
That's right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, you know what? I would have liked to see connections to the sequels, too. It might be a little too early to ask for that, but if there's any subtle thing between this and episode 7 or 8, that would be awesome, too. Everything has to be included.
One word. Snoke. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Rick Peralta over here, he just made a very good point. Rick, what did you just say?
I just said, and don't forget Star Wars Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see if we got any little tease of the Ghost Crew.
you want the answer?
No.
Not going to give it to you. Not going to give it to you.
That's the right answer.
Yeah, you know what? We may even see a connection to the Clone Wars.
Nice. I would expect as much, but okay, nice.
By a little character we call Jefferson from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I want to see if we find out Darth Vader's like really obsessed with custody of Luke Skywalker at this stage. He's like, where is this guy? I must find my son.
Well, you'll find out that answer after the credits roll, and they have the Avengers type tag.
Yeah. Now,
So stay for
Kai,
that.
I'm interested in what Kai are you looking forward to here?
I'm looking forward to Jen. I really love her, and I find myself getting really, really scared because I want to bargain. Like, okay, Cassian has to live, but then Jen can go. But then I'm like, no, I want KTSO to live, and so it's getting really scary because I want them all to live, and no one dies. That's what I want. But
Do you want the answer?
no, I don't want the answer.
Not going to give it to you.
Smarty
Not at all. Not at
I
all.
don't want the answer. I will know in 3 hours with everything else.
Okay, do you want a small spoiler?
Is Chopper in it? I want to know
Darth
about
Vader
Chopper.
dies.
Oh my gosh! And you know what? I heard this rumor that they steal the Death Star plan. So that's like
Thanks, Kai.
I know.
Spoiler
it's
alert.
Like the
There's no
worst.
sequel. I don't. What's that about?
I know that's it's the worst. Yes, but that's what I'm excited about, Jen, and I'm also excited that hopefully maybe there's some non-British dark-haired girls in this film. Okay, yeah, because I'm a dark-eyed girl and we do rule, but blondes have fun too, and redheads are fun, and yeah.
All right.
That's exactly my point. It's like, I want a blonde in the universe.
Sexy blonde in Star Wars for sure.
Now, I'm hearing that the secret weapon actually eliminates all CGI and slows down the pacing. And that's what winds up happening in the next movie. That's what I heard.
All right.
With war, you lose technology. Like everything is good,
Exactly.
and then you have a
It's
war.
like, oh no, we've lost high def.
Yeah,
oh,
we
no.
lost everything. Yeah. Yeah, there's no chocolate. There was no chocolate during World War II and stuff like that. So, of course,
That's why there was a World War II, because there's no chocolate.
That's
It
science.
makes sense.
So
That's why the Star Wars Underworld guys brought in
Yes.
Kit Kats.
And as Californians, I can't wait to see stormtroopers on the beach. Like, I
know.
am living for that. Like, I know Richard's going to go reenact this somehow. I'm sure he's already got a crew. And we're going to see him on Point Doom with some stormtroopers. It's totally going to happen.
Nice. And now, what characters from the original films, the prequels, from the animated shows, are we looking forward to making Easter egg visits?
Well, I think you guys saw one.
Oh, but I'm bummed.
But you know what? It's might be a while till we see this, but I really want to see Ahsoka Tano in live action at some point before I die. Please, Lucasfilm,
But
please.
What character are you crossing your fingers for that will show up in Rogue One? I had my answer.
It would be really cool to see Leia.
Okay.
Really cool.
Okay.
Dave.
Boy, well, I mean, I'm actually obvious
TV
one is
shows.
Darth Vader is just because I know it's obvious, but what the incarnation of how they're presenting Darth Vader in Rebels is so much more vicious and angry and powerful than you're seeing in any of the movies. I want to see that kind of a Darth Vader, and I want to see if they pull that off.
Let's say we have a Lucas long shot, and we see a character walking from left to right.
Little cameo?
Yes. Who do you want that character to be?
I got to go with Ahsoka, too.
Ahsoka? All right, 2 for Ahsoka.
Nice.
Sarah?
Wow, I hadn't thought about this, and it's kind of hard to answer once you've seen it.
Yeah, okay, so you're exempt from this.
Okay.
I want to see BB-8, and I want to see him say, what the hell's that? With the Death Star plans all wrapped around his little body.
And his name will be BB McQuarrie. Let's go with that. All right, so we can't really say anything more unless we're going to ruin it, or we're not going to ruin it.
So I think we'll come back to you guys.
Yes.
So
After the film, we're going to pull together a podcast with the guys from Star Wars Underworld. Chris Alexander will be here. Tons of Skywalkers and tons of fun and tons of insight.
All right, back in 5 hours.
See you then.
See you on the other side.
And that will be Things We Want to Share.
The whole episode. Okay.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, a great adventure took place. It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships, striking from a hidden base, have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, rebel spies manage to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet.
All right, we are now
Before we start,
recording.
how spoiler-free are we staying on this?
I wanted to say no spoilers.
No,
Okay.
But then I got outvoted.
Everyone is listening to this shit.
They should have heard it by now.
Yeah, they should have watched it. So we'll play our Rob Dellinger spoiler warning.
Yeah.
And is there really anything to spoil? People kind of know what's going to happen. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean,
Some of the specifics.
Yeah.
All right, and here we go. We have seen Rogue One. We have seen Rogue One.
Yeah.
What is our reactions?
Yeah.
And we are here with a myriad of people. So let's go around and introduce ourselves and give your reaction, your immediate reaction.
Hey everybody, Dominic from the Star Wars Underworld here, and my immediate reaction is just trying to make words because that was mind-blowing. I'm not sure. I wasn't ready for it. It was so good. So good.
And this is Chris from the Star Wars Underworld as well, and Geek Radio. And I kind of was late coming here because I had to go to a bookstore and buy Breathing for Dummies, and I'm okay. That was really amazing. I would say just a sketch of what I thought. It started a little slow for me, but it ramped up, and then it got to a point where I couldn't take it, and then it went a little bit further.
This is Patrick from KPFK Geek Radio. Oh man, my reaction. Speechless at first, still shaking a little. And then when I had a little time to process, my reaction obviously was Star Wars is back, and I may have a new favorite Star Wars movie.
That's a lot to say. Hey, this is Ben Hart from the Star Wars Underworld and the Intergalactic Peace Coalition podcast. And yeah, I'm still trying to pick up my jaw off the floor. Yeah, it's that good. I'm with him. I think this could be right up there. I think it's going to be, I've heard a lot of people say it's up there for them. And this is going to be one for the records. I mean, it's so, like Chris said, it starts really, really slow and then just keeps going, and it does not stop to right at the end, like the most intense 5 minutes of a Star Wars movie ever. It's amazing.
Zack Arnold, also from the Intergalactic Peace Coalition, and not too long ago on our show, we had a list of the top 5 movies that we would never, ever say no to, and I may have to retract that entire episode because this is definitely going to be entering my top 5. It was a roller coaster of a ride. It was so much fun being able to see all the links that tie everything into A New Hope, but also being able to tell its own story. It was so much fun and definitely worth the trip from Texas and definitely worth the time.
Hi, this is Nancy Steinman. I'm from the OneRing.net. I thought that some fantastic storytelling. I mean, the storytelling, you just cared about the characters right away, and the visuals were spectacular. I just thought it was so beautiful. The locations they chose, the flying scenes, I was there. It was amazing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Alexander, author of Star Wars Origami. It wasn't bad. I kind of liked it.
Oh, boo! Who invited this guy?
I think I now have a new second favorite Star Wars movie. If it wasn't for the fact that I have to be completely, I can't even think of words at this point. The first Star Wars movie is always going to be near and dear to my heart. I can't let something push that out of first place. But theoretically, if something was ever going to push it out of first place, this would be it.
I think I was in the wrong theater because they kept on talking about Hogwarts, and I wasn't really sure. Yeah, I didn't quite get that. No, this is Dave Skale. I am the Rebel Spy and the ghost host on Skywalking Through Neverland, which you guys probably are familiar with if you're listening to this. It was really, really good. It hit all the nostalgic buttons that I was looking for. That growing up with the original trilogy, I wanted to see something set in the original trilogy timeline. It was logical. It fit everything. It filled up the holes in episode 4. It was funny. It captured, so it hit all the buttons I was looking for.
All right. Rick Peralta.
Hey there. Yes, this is Rick Peralta of liningup.net, the group that helped make this little event here happen at the TCL Chinese Theatre IMAX. And and I have to say that my immediate reaction is I can't remember the last time I wept that hard from pure joy at an end of a film. It was ridiculously amazing. Yeah.
Hi, guys. This is Brian Sims. We've been following a franchise since 1977 that said Star Wars, and tonight we finally got the Wars of Star Wars, and that was pretty epic.
Oh, well, okay, so I didn't really know what to expect going into this movie. I was excited about it because it was a Star Wars film, but upon first seeing it, I was surprised at how absolutely emotional I got. And I just, like, something that touches that A New Hope trilogy is just, I think that's why, because it just touches all those nostalgia buttons.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of nostalgia, this is Rich. I just can't speak right now because I'm just so excited and worked up. I've been wanting to talk about this since last week when we saw it at a press screening. Now here we are with all of our friends getting to share such nostalgia, getting to share such a huge film in the Star Wars now canon. And back in 1977, we heard it is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. Who here had played with their Star Wars action figures and reenacted or acted out that scene?
Does Lego count?
Yes, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Kenner, Lego, Hasbro. I know as a kid, I would just try to figure out what that meant. They had gotten struck their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. Hey, can you quiet down?
That was an ad outside.
Yeah. And now we know what that means.
And it lives up. It lives up to the expectations. That's the thing people always say. Oh, could it ever live up to what we did as a kid? Yeah, it can. It did. It just did.
Especially when we see things like Gold Leader and Red Leader and just everything. I mean, it was so much fun watching it at the TCL Chinese Theatre with a huge contingent of Star Wars fans because everyone was like yelling and screaming at all the right moments.
That's what you want. You want that Star Wars screening to be loud, excited, everybody feeling the moment together, and that's what we got tonight.
Now, one of the first questions I had when leaving The Force Awakens was, does this feel like a Star Wars movie? And because the lasers didn't look like Star Wars lasers, they didn't sound like Star Wars lasers, it kind of took me out of it just a little bit. But the second viewing, I was all on board. But now, does this feel like a Star Wars movie? And if so, why?
So, the first act, before they got to Jeddah, I felt a little bit like I was in the Marvel Universe, which is not a bad thing, but just, going to all the different planets and all the different cities and having the text and the screen saying where you are. I'm like, I don't know if this quite feels Star Wars. But then once they got to Jeddah, once that started happening, from there on, it was right there. It was Star Wars for me. So that was the point. That was the point.
It's a slow burn. It really is. It starts and you're getting different pieces of the puzzle. You're getting, Jin's backstory, and he even flashes further back as you get into the film. And, you're really getting all these things from all these different characters, and they all come together, halfway through the movie, and it gives you a full picture. It's a really remarkable how well it all fits together.
For me, it was interesting because they broke some of the traditions that all the Star Wars films have. There was no original screen crawl. There was the identification of the different planets. We had backstory, that we've never seen before, where we actually started off in one time period, then jumped to the present time. So in those ways, it was not quite like a traditional Star Wars film. But they had all the elements of the original spaceships. They had footage from the original characters. They had, and so in that regard, it was like, yeah, this was definitely my Star Wars that I grew up with.
All right, now, like you just said, there were graphics to denote where we were, what planet we were going to, but one planet did not have a title.
We were just talking about this inside.
All right, what planet was that?
I would say Mustafar, but then we went through Jakku and Tatooine last year, so, thematically, it makes sense to me. It looked like Mustafar to me. But then again, Jakku throws everything off, so I guess we just have to pick up the visual guide tomorrow and find out for sure.
Chris Alexander?
I'm going with Mustafar, because that's the first thing I thought when I saw the lava.
Right, exactly. And I think according to Anthony Bresnikan, that it is Mustafar.
It is Mustafar? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. The Brez would know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know when I was a kid and would always read where Darth Vader was from, where he lived, it was always on a lava planet.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, and then I think I just answered my own question, but when we get into the compound, who is it that we see?
In the back to tank.
In the back, that was an awesome throwback. There were, I lost count how many throwbacks, little tiny subtle things, Easter eggs for us fans, like the back of tank and Vader in there, and the blue milk sitting on the counter. It's like, blue milk! Something stupid I'm screaming about. Seeing some of the characters from the original movie brought back in spots that they should be. The leader of Gold Squadron and his wingman, the leader of Red Squadron, Blue Squadron. Why wasn't there a Blue Squadron? Actually, I just found out the technical reason why the Blue Squadron didn't make it into the original movie. In the, all right, sidetracking here, the original squadron Luke was in the book was Blue Squadron before they made the movie. The blue with the blue screen didn't work, so they changed all the X-Wings to red, and it became Red Squadron. They brought the Blue Squadron back for this movie, and I'm wondering why they didn't make it on the final into episode 4, because they're all trapped on that planet and completely wiped out. It made perfect sense. All these little things, whoever went through and really, really did their homework and hit every little note. And the thing I loved is they didn't just go, look, we're showing you R2-D2. They didn't do that. They stuck him in a corner where you could spot it and go, yes, this is my Star Wars movie. And I sound really excited, but I am. This was truly a Star Wars movie from start to finish.
All right. I'm gonna go back because I really want to talk about the introductory shot of Darth Vader. Now, before this, it was always said that Darth Vader always had the best entrance of any Star Wars character in A New Hope when he comes through the door, looks around at the killings, and then walks on. I think this, by far, beat any introduction of any Star Wars character. How do we all feel about this?
You first see him. You don't even see him. You just see the shadow, the giant shadow on the wall. It's incredible. And that profile, the most iconic profile in all of film, and they took full advantage of it. It's crazy. And yeah, that whole sequence is just like, where are we going? What is this? It's something that, we were worried and going into this movie, like, are they showing too much? Are they showing Jedha blowing up? Like, are we really going to be spoiled on this? And then they give us stuff like that was just like something that we'd never seen before. And, getting Vader's castle, something we've heard about forever. It goes back to Ralph McQuarrie's original drawings. I mean, it's amazing.
Oh, one of the things I loved about that shot where we saw his shadow is that you also saw the shadow of the door, and it was like the Return of the Jedi, Jabba's palace door. So everything just kind of fits right in that whole universe, like from the scenery to the sound effects to the music. It just really worked on all levels.
Moisture evaporators on the first planet. The containers were correct. All the details. When you're saying about Vader, he actually had 2 really awesome opening shots. That one that you were just talking about, and the other one on the Rebel. No, actually, it was the home base, where it's dark, and then you hear the breath, and then the light comes up, and like, oh my God, now we know why Vader is such a, dare I say it, he is just wow.
Right now, I still want to talk about this because why do we think Darth Vader was in that tank? Was this the aftermath of a battle?
I think it was because he'd been attacked by a wampa. I'm just saying.
Oh, so you read Catalyst.
Didn't he have to go in the tank on a regular basis to refresh? Or no, he had a pod for that, right? But I thought it was amazing because we got to see, you always want to see what's under that suit. And we got to see more of what's under that suit here than any other time.
There was one thing that really struck me about the Vader costume that they had is the eyes. And, we've heard about the red eyes, Vader, all that. But in Revenge of the Sith, we see the Vader helmet come on him, and we can see what he can see. And I was looking carefully at it, and I could kind of see that from the outside, that what we saw in Revenge of the Sith, and it was like, whoa! As somebody who's Revenge of the Sith was my first Star Wars movie in theaters, to see that. Yeah, sorry guys. To get to see that on the big screen was like, wow, they not only did they draw perfectly from the original trilogy. They drew perfectly from the prequel trilogy as well.
And getting some more on Vader. I mean, where this is a movie that's not particularly focused on Vader, but we're getting part of his daily life, really, like him just hanging out in the back to tank, because I guess this is something that he does to try to heal himself from what the burns he sustained on Mustafar. So getting that and kind of getting to what he does, and then getting that ending where he's just like, I've had enough of this crap. I'm coming after those rebels myself.
Plus, at this point in the timeline, his really cool chamber hasn't been completed yet, so this is kind of his old school chamber, waiting for his new one on the Death Star to be finished.
Exactly. All right, so did that answer your question at all, Richard?
No, I believe that he was in that back to tank, and I couldn't really tell, but it didn't look like he had his arms and legs on. So to me, that was the aftermath of a battle. He was just in, and he was healing himself. And then the next scene with Darth Vader, he's facing off with Krennic. And we saw that one shot in all the trailers, and everyone thought, oh, this is where Krennic gets it. This is where Krennic gets it. And we see the relationship between Krennic, Darth Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin. Anyone want to talk about that relationship?
Oh, man, that was really cool. I think what was awesome was to see Krennic as kind of like a fragile character. Like, we were used to, Tarkin and Thrawn and characters like that, where they know what they're doing. They inspire fear. Whereas with Krennic, it's like, he's afraid. You can tell that he doesn't really know if he's standing on solid ground. He's trying to fight constantly to keep ahead of everyone else in the competition. And kind of seeing that humanization on the Imperial side, I think that's really unique and really awesome for Star Wars, and I'm glad they're going there.
Yeah, just to add on to that, it's kind of one of those things where Krennic thinks he should be on the level of Vader and Tarkin, and you get that a little bit in Catalyst, and you really get it in the movie more than I thought you would. And so did you see that moment there? It really sells it, really shows you what this guy wants, but who he really is.
Absolutely. All right, so I want to put a question to the round table, and it is this. I want to know what your favorite character is, but now here's where we get spoilery. Because pretty much everyone dies, I think you
Ponda
have
Baba.
I think what my real question is, who are you most sad about seeing die?
Chirrut.
Chirrut for sure.
Oh, I'm going to say Cassian, because he faked out his death and then he actually died.
I mean, gotta go with Jen. I like that it wasn't in the action death, that it was kind of an accepting their fate kind of thing, but it still hit me. The two of them, Jen and Cassian, like that scene, man. Single tear.
Oh, let's go around.
I would probably say Chirrut, because his character throughout the course of the entire movie just continued to develop. You continued to learn more about him and his beliefs, what he stands for, and you kept thinking, if there was anybody that was going to make it, it would have to be this guy. And then he doesn't make it. And the more I watched it, the more I saw everybody meeting their fate, the more I thought, my God, this is the Suicide Squad movie we've been looking for all year.
Wow. Let's see, Brian?
Well, favorite character is still going to be Darth Vader, and that scene at the end just solidifies that. But favorite character that didn't make it to the end would probably be Jen. And just her transformation from the beginning of the show to the end of it, it really shows the whole journey all in a 2-hour period that she took. And they did a pretty good job of telling the story.
Well, I want to say that I thought the most amazing thing about this movie was that in 2 hours, they gave us a big cast of characters that we had never seen before, and we all walked out of there caring about every single one of them. So I was really upset when Chirrut died, but at the end when Jin and Cassian, I couldn't stop crying. It was just, you can, because everything that she had strived for in her life, and she accomplished it, and then she lost her life.
I'm not sure if I have a proper answer for that question. I was sad to see everybody die. When the droid died, I forgot all the names already. I'm still processing. But K2S, when K2 died, was like, oh man. But then when the pilot, was it the pilot who was in the cargo transport and the grenade gets tossed in, at that moment I knew nobody was going to make it out through this movie. And at that moment I was like, oh man, none of I'm going, none of these people I've just come to love in the last 2 hours are going to be around. So I'm still wondering how they'll pull them all out and make a sequel out of them. Or maybe, because unless you see a head rolling across the floor, and sometimes not even then, you can't really count them out.
I'm going to go with the 7th TIE Fighter pilot. Nobody gives him props, and, he really, really tried hard, and he was just doing his job. I'm just saying.
Okay, I hear you. Rick, did you have a character? Which character?
I was just going to say that a little aside here. Did you guys happen to notice that when one of the ties blew up, it formed a hidden Mickey?
Oh.
Yeah. Right over the Battle of Scarif.
Wow.
Well, I know what I'm looking for tomorrow.
Yeah, right?
Well, the character that I was really sad to see go was K2SO. Because he sacrificed himself over and over again. And he was just so much fun to watch, and catching grenades and throwing it back at the stormtroopers, never breaking a beat in a sentence. And just doing whatever he can to make sure that Cassian and Jin got those Death Star plans. And he just keeps taking hit after hit after hit.
You took my answer, because that was me. And if you think about it, did you hear my reference to Game of Thrones? It's like
yes.
Hodor.
Yeah.
That's doubly too soon.
Right? I'm sorry.
Another spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
K2, hold the door. Hold the door, K2, hold the door.
Oh, so sad. Yeah, I know. All right, we have another joining us.
I was going to say K2 because that was the first tears that I shed. First of all, I was just like crazy, super tensed and reactive. Like I was like reacting like a crazy person. Thank God I was in like the last row. Because people behind me probably would have hated me. But yeah, when K2 went, I was just like, and I have love for droids. R2 is on my arm. And
it's a sibling thing.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. So that was my first cry. The second one was rather hilarious, and I'll talk about that later.
Or aside from a character not making it, what was the most emotional scene in the film?
Can I say the last shot?
Yes, go ahead.
Because, oh my God, to go through that entire ordeal, to be reminded of where we're going, and to have, they did a lot of good stuff with CGI. Tarkin was pretty good, but Leia was damn near perfect.
Totally. For me, obviously, the end, it was more shock than crying, because it was so intense. But towards the middle of the film, when Galen's hologram was playing and Jin was watching it, just at first the realization that it was Galen that sacrificed himself to be the one to plant that weakness in the Death Star was absolutely amazing. A great way to tie it in and show how this movie was necessary for the canon, to explain how such a stupid plot hole could exist in A New Hope. How could they not know? Well, they did it. And so that's absolutely amazing. And then also just Jin seeing, her father for the first time as well, and him addressing her after all those years, thinking he may have died. Absolutely amazing. So emotional. I was crying right along with her.
For me, it's a very short, very brief moment, but it speaks a lot about how intense this movie is. After Jin steals the plans out of the big container in the room that has a very large shaft that I guess the Empire just has some sort of fetish about that. It shows up in just about every instance we're looking at it. It's like, ooh, here's a big shaft we're going to fall down. But she has this moment where she's about to fall, and my heart skipped a beat because I thought she was going to lose the plans. And then I had to catch myself and think, wait, that's not right. Because the rebels end up with the plans. But the movie just had me that engrossed that as I'm watching her fall with the plans, I keep thinking, oh my God, what is going to happen? And I already know what's going to happen.
I'd have to say Galen's death, right behind Chirrut's death, just to the fact of reading Catalyst. That book enthralled me, and then just you getting that backstory with all of them, and then leading up to, such a dynamic character Galen was, how interesting he was, and then getting that realization that he is the guy. He's the guy that, Death Star was an inside job. It really was an inside job, and he was the guy behind it. And then getting that thing is just incredible.
The scene that I was most emotional during was more of like a sequence. It started when you see young Jin, and it ends when you see Leia.
Well played.
Just to piggyback on something you said, I've read a lot of the books, and I don't think all of them are essential to the movies that we go to. But after just finishing Catalyst, it really, really enhanced this movie more than any other book has enhanced a movie before.
And there were so many connections, like Galen calling her Stardust. I did not think that would matter outside of the book, but it was a huge plot point. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Absolutely.
For me, I'll echo that the ending got me, because up until then it was like an entirely new movie, totally different, then all of a sudden it's connecting up to the episode 4, and all these connections are suddenly in my mind connecting. It's like, wait a minute, I'm now in this episode 4 universe, but it happened really within the last 5 minutes of the film, and that really kind of hit me strong.
Can I add on to something that Chris said in that this film, the fact that Galen, created the way that they destroyed the Death Star, corrected a plot hole from episode 4. In a lot of books, they try to do that. They try to go back and fix things or re-explain things that fix things we've been complaining about for 30 years. Yeah, retcon things. And they did it in a way that worked. And in a way, this film just made A New Hope better.
Exactly.
All right, now let's go into a couple of our favorite topics.
Okay.
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
All right. So, did you see Cham Syndulla?
Champ, really, he's in there.
Yeah, he's in there.
I
did see
him. Jeddah, and it's
and Saw's camp. Yeah, they're all in jail.
Number 2 thing I'm looking for tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was the droopy Twi'lek? I'm pretty sure that dude's name is Fortuna. He's like a relative of Bill Fortuna.
Was that in Entertainment Weekly or something?
Yeah, they have
Pablo.
It's Pablo. So yeah, that was he's apparently like a brother of Bib Fortuna, I guess. He was really droopy.
So we'll have to see it again.
Yes.
Oh, darn.
Oh, darn the luck. All right. Who else has got a favorite Easter egg?
But like I joked earlier, like Pond Baba and Dr. Evazan, that was so. I was not expecting that. It just came out of the blue, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, someone spoiled that a few months ago,
Yeah,
and I
heard
was
that.
so disappointed. Yeah, because if I had not known that and saw them, I would have just been bawling my eyes out, just out of excitement.
No, because you were excited. When you
Now to see them was very, very exciting. And to see Dr. Evazan's makeup just had that 70s kind of just thrown on with a couple of stipples to cover the seam was priceless.
Well, you know what I thought was interesting? In this particular theater, there didn't seem to be a big rise out of the blue milk.
Yeah.
And there was a huge response in our Walt Disney Studios screening, which is weird.
This is right in the beginning when Krennic is invading the homestead of the Ursos, and we cut to the kitchen. We have a nice tracking shot, and the blue milk is like right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like an old Bill Cosby movie with product placement.
So, Easter egg clarification. Did he have hands or hoofs, or did it even show?
That's a good question for Walrus Man or Ponda Baba, wherever you were born.
I don't remember seeing him anything below the shoulders when he turned the corner around the doctor.
Well, Dr. Evazan
Right, but he turned.
Yeah, you hit my hoof. And he was waving, but you know what? That's a good question.
I think he just kind of turned and you only saw him from the shoulders up.
Well, to see it again?
We'll have to see it again.
All right.
So I've got my Easter egg, and I didn't even catch it. But it was what I wanted so bad, I looked it up, I Googled it as soon as I came out, and apparently Chopper's in the movie.
Yes.
I didn't see him, but I'm seeing the film 3 times tomorrow until I find him.
Oh, snap. I got to piggyback off these guys and say that just seeing the ghost, and it's, we saw it in the trailer, and I was like, that it can't be, but it's exactly like it is. And then for so many scenes, you see it flying around the back. Like, clearly, I'm like, That's fantastic continuity. Like, that is what we want.
Yeah, when Jin and Cassian are leaving Yavin to go find Galen, you do see it docked over to the left. It's like the Millennium Falcon in The Force Awakens, because the shot goes by so quickly. It's like, that. The second time, you're just looking in the background for stuff. And during those base scenes, I kept looking for Chopper. I want to find me some Chopper.
I don't know if this necessarily counts as an Easter egg, but I did think it was extremely satisfying to find out why Red 5 had a vacancy.
That's when I leaned over to Sarah and said, job opening.
Exactly.
Now, you were talking about a couple of Easter eggs with the pilots.
The pilots. So I loved that they brought back Dutch and Tyree, the two Gold Squadron pilots flying the Y-Wings. And I'm now trying to remember, did I see Pops in there or not? The third Y-Wing pilot. We'll have to see it again. But I thought I remember seeing Pops, but it might be now I'm just like overwhelmed. But seeing the two Y-Wing pilots, and then Red Leader also back in there. And I kept looking for it. I was hoping. All right, this isn't exactly an Easter egg. They had Biggs X-Wing out at the premiere, out on the red carpet. And if you don't know how to tell the X-Wings apart, does everyone here know how to tell the X-Wings apart, or is that just me? No?
I don't, but Richard,
The stripes on the back of the X-Wing. If there's one stripe, it's red 1. 2 stripes, it's red 2, and so on and so forth. So the X-Wing that was out in the premiere had 3 stripes. Red 3, Biggs Darklighter. And
I kept really excited about these X-Wings.
Who wouldn't be?
That fills in a lot of answers.
So I was looking I was thinking Biggs has got to be in here somewhere. So instead of seeing Biggs, I saw Pops and Tyree and Dutch and then and Dave, Red Leader, and I was like, and I was looking for that, so I missed the ghost in every scene except when they arrived on the planet. I was like, the ghost!
You know what? We didn't see Biggs, but we did see his helmet. It was on a woman.
I didn't notice that.
Yes.
I was looking for the mustache in the so I didn't notice the helmet.
That woman did not have a mustache.
You wouldn't see that on a woman, no.
Every time they showed a tracking shot, I was checking the R2 units to see if I knew who was flying which ship.
All right, so anybody have any more Easter eggs? Oh, yes.
When Bail Organa says he has to go back to Alderaan,
Oh.
it's like, oh my god.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
There was a mouse droid.
And the Death Star droid, when he was in the Sandcrawler in A New Hope, he's got that very specific line of dialogue. And they use that when they cut to that one droid in the subway Imperial base scene. We have that one droid, and he's talking to 2 Imperials, and you hear that same track they used in A New Hope.
That same tone, that same dialect.
Yes.
I heard that.
Cool. There was a probe droid on Jeddah. Noticed
All
that
right,
one?
yeah.
And you had the crosstalk with the stormtroopers talking about something going out.
T-16s, the T-15s. Yes. And we have David Collins and Sam Witwer to thank for that.
Oh, nice.
That was again someone really doing their homework. That's cool. And the little Easter eggs going through it that anybody who's not on our level of Star Wars nutsdom would just gloss over and just catch it as dialogue.
That's right.
All right, now let's talk about the music.
Yes. Okay, that was my next question. Is what do we all think of the music? And yeah.
I've been a fan of Michael Giacchino probably since The Incredibles, if not before that. And I truly think he is going to be the John Williams of this generation. If you look at his track record, everything from that to Up to the Star Trek series, he had just so many classics that you hear the music and it's iconic to the movie, it's iconic to just instant recognition, and he continued that in this movie. You heard the stuff that was instantly recognizable, but then it kind of also followed along the lines similar to something like Jurassic Park, where you're listening to the music and you can tell exactly what scene it's going to be. You listen to certain sequences on Jeddah, and it's very different from the stuff that you're hearing on the Citadel at Scarif. And so anytime you're hearing this soundtrack, you're going to be able to instantly recognize the different scenes, the different moments that are happening within those scenes, while also hearing subtle things like Darth Vader's theme, while also hearing the classic, Star Wars music that we've heard from the 70s, while also throwing in his own original scores. It was just brilliantly done.
All right, if you don't mind, I did not get to see it with everybody else. I saw it at the El Capitan across the street. However, he was there and he spoke on the stage prior to the movie.
Oh.
And he told a story which I will now relay kind of third hand. But what he said was he had just finished doing Doctor Strange. He had just finished the score for Doctor Strange, and he and his girlfriend were going to go on vacation. So she's got the computer open, and she's looking up flights, and I guess she's doing the whole bit, and the phone rings, so he picks it up, and he's going, and she's going, who's that? He's like, okay. Who's that? Okay, okay. Okay, thanks. And he hangs up, and she's like, who's that? He's like, close the computer. It's Star Wars. The whole audience went nuts for that.
Wow.
And I'm gonna piggyback what he said. There were so many little tiny themes, just like 3 or 4 bars or 5 or 6 bars that were exactly in the style of the original 4, 5, and 6. Don't ask me to quote any of them, but they were right there. Like when they were approaching the shield the first time and they were transmitting the fake codes, there was a little tiny riff of that same music. And no, it wasn't even that. It was that hollow background music when Luke and Han are about to penetrate the shield. And they had a little of that, a little bit of not the cantina, but the Tatooine music as they're going through the city. Just not entire stretches of the music, just 3 or 4 bars, just enough to tie it in and still be original and unique. It was blended so perfectly. It wasn't a standalone soundtrack. It fit in so well that I can't wait to buy the soundtrack for this movie.
Yeah, and then what really struck me was actually the transitions between planets and like just those scenes where you're going from one scene to the other and you have these beautiful views, and then it was like Michael Giacchino just went, oh my gosh, this is a time to swell the orchestra, and you're sitting there like, oh, this is amazing. So yeah, I can't wait to get this soundtrack.
He actually talked about John Williams at the theater. He said that John Williams is probably the greatest composer of all time, and to follow in his footsteps was quite an honor, as he put it, I think, and that he tried really hard to live up to that original score, which is not done anymore in movies. People don't do themes. People don't do soundtracks. Now it's just background stuff and sounds and music. Well, it's actually a song that's supposed, but to actually have a theme that carries for the character and different types and using it, slowing it down for the slow scenes, or making it exciting for but keeping that theme with the character or the scene or the situation. He did an incredible job with that.
Yes.
Did the music for everybody else at the very beginning of the movie, right when everything starts to go, did the music say Star Wars? It worked throughout the whole movie. It was beautifully done everywhere, but right at the beginning of the movie, did it scream Star Wars?
It was a little jarring.
Still trying to get used to the fact that there wasn't a crawl.
Yes.
Which there's, by the way, I still want to state for the record, there should have been.
I'm going to agree with that. If they're opening in space, they got to do it. It was a similar shot. I thought the reason why they weren't going to do it was because they were going to open on a planet and it would have been a weird transition. But no, they opened the same way they normally would have, so it should have been a crawl.
Like that intro was basically, sorry, Ben, that intro was basically without the crawl, pan up.
That is Star Wars.
Yeah, it was just missing the crawl from being the perfect Star Wars intro.
If you've been listening to the Star Wars Underworld podcast, you know this is a big deal when I say this. I agree with Dominic.
Yes! Yes! Thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy.
I will say one thing. When I was sitting there, part of me was not wanting to like this movie.
Oh.
Now, I'll tell you this. When I first saw the very, very first trailer at, I think it was Celebration last year before, and they just showed this pan up with the Death Star. I'm like, cool. But okay, kind of cool, looks good. All right, but it's not part of the canon. Okay, they're going to do a Star Wars movie, and my thought was they're going to do a sci-fi movie and slap a Star Wars name on it and expect us to buy off on it. That was my first thought. And then there was another trailer. I'm not sure if it was the second or third, but there was that one the first time they showed the inside of the temple and the X-Wings and the costumes And I was like, oh, this is a Star Wars movie. This is going to be a Star Wars movie. I can't wait. No. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. So I was still prepared to be let down by that. And then hearing there was no opening crawl, I'm kind of going, it's not a Star Wars movie without an opening crawl. And then the pan up from deep space, and there was this kind of a grayish stripe across. And my first thought was that they're going to do some see-through, grayish, that's going to fade to the front of the words of Rogue One. And I'm like, oh, this is... And I thought, this is going to be... Oh, no, it's the rings of a planet. Cool, keep going. And from that moment on, I was hooked. From the fact that they didn't screw it up from that very beginning, I was hooked.
There were a lot of elements that I saw from, just advertisements, from announcements, from the promos that just made me think, well, okay, yeah, it's Star Wars, but it's more or less just a filler until we get to Episode 8. And when it said a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I sat there going, wait a second. And then it cuts, and I was like, that's a little choppy, but I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna hope. Okay, I'm gonna be patient. Impress me, Rogue One. And for the next 2 hours, 14 minutes or whatever, I was thoroughly impressed.
Nice. Well, Brian, going back to your point of did it sound like Star Wars in terms of the music? It actually, what I thought was interesting is they had that one loud horn blast, right? And then it got quiet and went to the piccolo solo, which is exactly what happens in A New Hope, actually. You have a piccolo solo that brings you into the film. So I thought that was a nice little call-out.
I've got to mention my favorite musical cue of any Star Wars film. It's when the two Star Destroyers collide. Oh, yeah. There's a choir. It's very angelic. It's like millions of souls coming together.
You know what? Honestly, that kind of reminded me of Star Trek, because that's what happens in the very beginning of Star Trek 2009 when what's his name? Kirk. No, well, Kirk, the previous Kirk, who's Thor. Yeah. Thor. Yes, but Thor, yeah, he's George Kirk. Right, aboard. Thank you. George Kirk aboard the Kelvin. Yes. There you go. Yes. So he's trying to defend all the escape pods and his wife who's having her baby, and instead of hearing the soundtrack, or instead of hearing the sounds, the sound effects, that's all cut out, and all you hear
it almost
is
mutes.
The music.
It almost
and
mutes.
That's exactly what they did in Rogue One. I was like, ooh.
The battle sounds kind of cut out, and it reminds me a lot of Firefly, actually, because whenever they're doing some camera shots that are outside of the ship, it almost sounds like the vacuum of space. And so when you're watching this explosion, you're not hearing, a big kaboom like you would down on the planet. You're watching the event unfold as if you were actually in space, which I thought was really cool, because you're not supposed to see any kind of explosions in the vacuum of space. And so when it cut out of that and into the music, I thought it was really good that they paid attention to the musical score, that they paid attention to a detail like that, and that they gave more attention to the imagery than to the sound effects, because that was probably one of the more brilliant scenes aesthetically that you would see in the entire film.
Nice.
Now, what Star Wars callbacks did we hear within the music?
Oh, so many.
Imperial March.
More than once.
The Rebel fanfare?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when.
The Force theme played when Bail Organa entered the room.
Princess Leia's theme. That was amazing, because it was the foreshadowing for what came later. So that was great.
And then I think also during the battle scenes there was a march that incorporated the Rebel theme in it, and I can't wait to hear that on the soundtrack. I'm downloading the soundtrack when I get home.
Is it available today?
Yes, it's available probably midnight.
Now, am I the only one who thinks that we shouldn't hear the Imperial March until The Empire Strikes Back?
No.
I'm kind of with you there.
You are with me.
I am, because the Imperial March technically isn't invented yet until Empire Strikes Back.
We hear it all through the prequels.
Well, same thing goes for the prequels. I don't want to hear the Imperial March until The Empire Strikes Back. I really want to hear the dun dun da da.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, we didn't hear that until we go to the planet Vader is on. There are several scenes on the Star Destroyers, on the Death Star. There are just several instances where they could have played it, but they chose not to until Vader showed up. The whole mantra of it being called the Imperial March may be changed now because it doesn't even start playing until we see Vader.
Right. Okay. Any other music comments? All right.
Giacchino freaking nailed it.
Yeah, he did. And when they
Nailing the Kelvin.
and when they did show the graphic of Rogue One, they had a theme. I guess that's the new theme to Rogue One. But was that memorable?
It kind of reminds me of what Rebels did to the Star Wars theme, how they kind of took a bit of it and then twisted it. Same thing. It was just like kind of a twisting of the original.
I agree.
Well, sorry. Well, seeing as I can't hum it, I'm going to say no, it wasn't memorable.
I don't remember it, but there was so much to try and remember. I'm going to have to see it again.
I think that's kind of a common theme is we want to see it again. And so that's a really great testimony to this movie is its watchability. Is you see it once and you're not just saying, okay, it's a one and done. You're saying, I want to see this thing and I want to see it tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I want to see it right now.
Oh, yeah. Take the words right out of my mouth.
No, well, for me, honestly, this movie is kind of like one of those epic ones that it's hard to watch over and over again because it takes so much out of you.
It's true. It's like Revenge of the Sith in that way. Of all the Star Wars movies, this reminded me most of Revenge of the Sith and just the way that the emotion builds up.
Yes, yeah. So I don't know if I could see it again, like back to back. I'd have to wait.
Yeah, I do not want to see that K2SO death scene right now. Now, when we were driving back from the first time we had seen the screening, we kept thinking, wait a minute, was this shot in there? Was that shot in there? Was this shot in there?
Trailers.
All the trailers. How many shots did you want to see that never made the final cut?
The X-Wing coming up over Jin on the catwalk.
Yeah, the TIE fighter, the TIE fighter.
I had so many questions about that shot.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, is Zeb going to jump out of there and grab her or something? But and it wasn't even in the movie.
The power we're dealing with is immeasurable.
Yeah,
Where was that?
He never says that.
Where's that line?
I was waiting for the whole time. That was the line I was waiting for. In fact, the number of things we saw in the trailers that weren't in this movie are immeasurable.
Now, for me, the one shot I really wanted to see was Krennic walking through the beach, his cape in the water, all the stormtrooper bodies floating around. How would that have fit in the movie? Because Krennic was always on... Oh, there's Krennic right here. Chris just made an origami Krennic. So he was always on the base. He was never down on the front lines.
Well, I think it was probably just to throw you off so that you didn't realize that Scarif was going to be the finale act until you're actually watching it. Because if he is down there, then it's the aftermath of a battle rather than the actual battle where they're stealing the plans. So by doing that, it kind of throws you off the trail a little bit, making you think, okay, maybe the Battle of Scarif is going to be something in the middle, instead of realizing that it's going to be the culmination of everything we have been waiting for since 1977.
But speaking from an art director's perspective who's worked on key art, when you're really in the early stages, they give you shots and you splice them together. They give you what they have. So if they don't know what's going to happen, if they haven't been told, and they're like, here's these shots, it's the same. The first poster we saw was Jin in an orange flight suit, and we never see that in the movie. So, yeah, that was the very first poster that came out. It was her holding her helmet. Do you remember that one? It was like the first poster, and
I think that was fan made.
Was it?
I feel like that was fan made.
Okay, but
it's really hard to tell now.
It looked good. It's sort of the same thing because when you're given a lot of early shots and you just put them together. Yeah.
Did she use her line where she talks about "We rebel"?
No.
I thought I missed that.
Rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
Or she says, I rebel.
No, yeah. This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel, because you can't say ours. Did you guys see her on Ellen?
Because I naturally want to say, this is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
So funny. But she never says that. Yeah. Yeah. And then the whole briefing scene where Mon Mothma is supposed to say, you stolen Imperial documents, blah, 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 blah. That was all said by the other guy.
Saw Gerrera not saying what will you do if they catch you? What will you become? Like, I thought it was going to be some big motivational speech, and then he barely had any screen time at all.
And all that talk about his hair, for what? For what? We see him in, 2 shots with a shaven head, and then he's got the big...
I have a question for everybody. Disappointments? Any moment that really bugged you, or anything in the movie from start to finish?
Well, like I said before, it took me a little bit for it to feel on par with the other Star Wars films. It took until Jedi for me to feel that way. And again, I will preface this by saying this is the first time I've seen this movie, and after seeing The Force Awakens, I wasn't quite sure how I felt about a few things, and it took after seeing it for me to really cement my feelings about it. So you'll have to listen to the Star Wars Underworld podcast later to hear my thoughts after seeing it a second time.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, a fight is breaking out. Who shot first, Han or Greedo? Uh-oh, this is going to get ugly. Chris, don't make trouble in Hollywood. Okay? I can recall seeing each Star Wars film in the theater.
I got three.
All right, I've got 8 now. That each time, after seeing a new film, thinking, does this feel like a Star Wars film? Seeing The Empire Strikes Back, it's like, no, they're hurting all my friends. No, it doesn't feel like a Star Wars film. Then Return of the Jedi was much lighter. And that felt more like a Star Wars film than Empire did. But then Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith shouldn't have felt like a Star Wars film because Lucas wanted to make a different kind of film. All right, so Chris, let's go on more what you wanted to talk about. Was there any disappointments?
I'll start off by saying I went into this movie again, like I said before, trying to keep my hopes low because I didn't want to get disappointed. I didn't want some sci-fi movie they just slapped a Star Wars title on and said, oh, look, we're going to have some stuff in it and they really made it a Star Wars movie. I was prepared towards the end with the entire Rebel fleet massed over this planet, Scarif, and the plans being transmitted up. Seriously, not one person can make a copy. Come on. They all got wiped out. There is only one. Everything they did nailed everything and was perfectly dovetailed. Thank you very much. Into episode 4. There were no little moments I could look at and I was disappointed at. I thought it was perfectly lined up with all of my original childhood treasures.
Okay. And just as an addendum, this is my 9th Star Wars theatrical film, counting the Clone Wars. Yes.
So I better amend my count 2 to 4.
There you go.
I at everything, such a great movie, but I'm going to have to go with Chris here. I really, really miss the traditional Star Wars intro. The crawl, the music at the beginning, it made it harder for me to get into the movie.
See, I went into this movie wanting the crawl, and they won me over. With all of it, with the music being just slightly different, with some of the tone being different, with the way that it started, with listing the planets they were going to. To me, it was still a Star Wars film, but now you have the feel of the saga films and the feel of the standalones, and it overlapped enough to make me perfectly happy. Like, if the rest of the standalone films feel like this, and the sagas always stay feeling like the sagas, I'd be perfectly happy. This is exactly what I wanted, and I didn't know it was what I wanted.
I was just going to say about the crawl, it almost made it feel like the cut was too abrupt. Like, we don't need to show this to you because you've seen it too many times before. And that's what it felt like to me. And I missed Jin's saying, I rebel, and I was hoping that she would get to hand the plans off to Leia.
Oh, that's a good thing. Well, my one nitpick would be when Jin is about to transmit the plans and she tells Krennic, that there's a flaw in the Death Star. Why do you show your cards on the table? Don't tell the bad guys there's a flaw, because then they could fix it, and all the things that your father worked for and sacrificed would be gone. So I'm glad he died and didn't get to tell anyone that, but I was like, stop it! Stop! Shut up! Shut up! Yeah.
Totally see what you're saying. But I did like that she got to like one final, I gotcha, like this, stick it to him. One final thing that she's able to hold over him. Like, we won.
Also, that she got to tell him that her father beat him. That's why I like that she said it. That she had the opportunity to say, especially if you read Catalyst, that after all of this, after all the years, that Galen beat him.
Yeah, and in Catalyst, Catalyst is all about Krennic playing everyone, manipulating everyone, and in the end, it was Galen who was manipulating Krennic into believing that he was going along with the thing. And to feed off that, my only critique, I guess, I was kind of weird watching the film over again. Like, there were things about Force Awakens that I didn't like at first, and things I grew to love. Saw Gerrera's scenes, some of them were like where he was just kind of staring and kind of like breathing his mask, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of awkward. What's he doing? But that's like my only thing. Like, I think this movie overall exceeded my expectations. Like, I didn't know really how to act around this movie. I knew I was really excited about the different connections that it had, and Saw Gerrera, of course. And but I think it really just it keeps building and building and building. And you don't know when it's going to stop because it just keeps going right up till the end.
The one thing that took me time to get used to was it's the first film that it was a long time before you really saw any characters that we knew. So in all the other movies, you had Yoda in Episode 1, you had a young Obi-Wan, you had places that you can kind of anchor yourself to the trilogy or to the original movie. This one, it took a while before, and we had some familiarity. It's like, oh, Stormtroopers, okay. But it was just a long time before we actually saw any characters we had a relationship with. And it worked, but it just took me a while to get into that.
For me, it was the evaporators and the little tiny bits in the house that actually did what you were just talking about to get me into this is that universe. But I think I agree with you. They needed, they didn't really need more, but it took me a while to go, yeah, I'm home.
Chewie, we're home.
Now, let's ask this final question. Should this be PG-13?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what PG-13 means anymore, so sure, yeah, should be.
It's a fluid rating, but if you look at the movies that are PG nowadays, this does not fit into that realm at all anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say PG-13, and I know, Richard, you don't think so because there's no, gore or any more than you'd see in a superhero film. But my thing about the PG-13 is one of the things Cassian does at the very beginning of the film. And Cassian's supposed to be your hero, and yet here he is. He's an assassin. Yeah, he kills a guy. He's told to kill Captain Urso. Not Captain Urso, but yeah. It's those questionable gray areas that maybe as a parent you might not want your little kid to see.
And that was something interesting about this film that I didn't expect is they really showed the rebellion as desperate to a point where it's really hard to tell if they're heroes or not. The things that they're doing, and it's made their allusions towards the end when they're like, all these things that we've done. We know that it's been the ends justifying the means, so we have to make sure that the end is what we've been fighting for. Otherwise, look what we've done with our lives.
And I think that opens up some really interesting storytelling possibilities for post-Jedi stuff down the line of, hey, you guys say you're the good guys, but you did that.
Right.
And that's not cool. But yeah, that Cassian scene that you were talking about, that to me was the signifier, more than not even having the crawl, that this is a different kind of Star Wars movie. When he shot him, I was, whoa!
Right. Yeah, did we all read Lost Stars?
Yes.
When we saw it from the Empire's point of view, and that the rebels were just nothing but terrorists, and that you can start to see their point of view.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, if you've got not only do you have Saw out there doing his thing, but the supposed good rebels are, I mean, Cassian's mission is to kill Galen, not to retrieve him. And his mission is also to lie to Galen's daughter about what he's going to do to him. There's a real moral gray area in this movie.
And it goes back to where this is a war movie. This is what we've been told this thing in. And war is hell. War is bad guys doing bad things, but also good guys doing bad things for the ultimate good. And you have someone like Cassian Andor, who I didn't even expect him to be such a shaded and complex character, where he is a hero, but he's on the front lines of this war. He's having to do morally questionable things and to get the job done. That is something that's really so compelling about his character, and it's reflective on our own world, because we have people that we consider good guys that are fighting for our freedoms that have to do terrible things and have to endure such incredible horrors to get the job done. And it's kind of a life imitating, art imitating life.
Yeah, it's realism. This was the most realistic Star Wars film.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought that kind of on what you just said, this is the first time we've seen what it was like to be on a planet being destroyed by the Death Star. Yeah. And that was an interesting, usually you just think, poof, you're gone. But no, it was like a slow, like the whole planet slowly dissolving. That was kind of cool.
And it totally, it looks more like an atom bomb. You're seeing it look like a bomb.
Yeah. I mean, I could see this being a PG-8, maybe a PG-9 movie, PG-13. Some themes were a little bit dark, but I don't think kids are really going to understand what just happened. And we don't really know who Cassian is at that point when he does shoot that informant, which was a very surprising, shocking moment. And that's the scene right there that reminded me of Lost Stars.
All right. Well, I think to wrap this up, let's have everyone go around, tell people where they can find you, and then pick one word or one word to encapsulate the film.
Okay, I'll start again since I started at the beginning. Dominic Jones, Star Wars Underworld, StarWarsUnderworld.com. Catch Star Wars Underworld Podcast at DominicJ25 on Twitter and Instagram. I think that's everything. And my one word would be because that's what I was doing at the end of the movie.
Man, same Chris from the Star Wars Underworld. Go to the places Dominic just told you to go to hear me as well. And I want to use a word like building.
So I only get one word? I have it. Okay. My name is Patrick Bonfrisco. I'm at Bonfrisco on Twitter, from KPFK Geek Radio, which is at KPFK Geek Radio on Twitter. And if you want to find the show, just Google KPFK Geek Radio. My one word, we were out here last Saturday for the premiere, and someone that walked out of the premiere tweeted simply the word wow. So I did the same thing to subtly imply that I was there, and I had people asking me, did you get in? Wow, you got in? Well, I didn't really get in, but my one word is wow, and I've just retweeted it because now that really sums up everything I'm feeling about this movie. Just wow.
Ben Hart from the Star Wars Underworld, and they just explained how you can find that. Of course, you can find me at Ben Hart Attack on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, Intergalactic Peace Coalition. Of course, you can listen to us, and I'll let my co-host explain that. But for my one word, whoa, wow, that's two words. Yeah.
Say whoa. Wow's already taken then.
Whoa. Just whoa. That encapsulates it.
Zack Arnold from the Intergalactic Peace Coalition. You can find us on Facebook, FB as in Facebook.me/IPC1138. It'll have links to all our other corresponding stuff. If you want to follow me personally, Zack, ZAC_DFW. Got to give a shout out to my hometown in Texas. My one word would probably be chilling. It gave me chills when you saw Leia. It gave me chills when it cut to the music that we all know and love at the very end. And I just sat there feeling my whole body just tingle with excitement and happiness.
Hey guys, this is Brian Sims, and on almost all social media, it's just my name, Brian Sims. And one word, I'm thinking about old 1950s and 60s war movies, old battle movies that really embraced what it's like to be in battle. And I think the one thing is epic. You think of an epic battle, and that was what we saw tonight.
Nancy Steinman. I tweet at Mithril Designs and nancysteinman.com. I'd say emotional.
Yeah.
It was very emotional right from the beginning all the way through.
Hi, everyone. Chris Alexander again. You can find me at wherever fine books are sold, I guess. StarWarsOrigami.com, although I haven't updated it in forever. My one word, nostalgia.
Oh.
That's it, nostalgia.
Okay.
Dave Scale. You can find me on Facebook and occasionally hanging out on Skywalking Through Neverland or at Richard and Sarah's house. My one word is 3.9. So Richard was asking me beforehand, what's this episode? And everybody's like 3.5. It's like, no, it's 3.9. This episode ends where episode 4 begins, and it takes you right up to the doorstep and knocks on the door. So for me, it's 3.9.
All right, this is me, Rich. The one word I would best describe this movie would be Star Wars.
How about hashtag Star Wars?
Hashtag Star Wars. Thank you. Thank you, my sweetie wife.
All right. And for my word, this is Sarah Woloski, Skywalking Through Neverland, but you guys all know that since you're listening. And my word would be lush. And that's describing the views and the music and just everything just that pulls you in. It's just lush.
All right, so that leads me to one final question. In this movie, can we land on Alderaan?
I mean, in the movie, they probably could have, but I mean, you wouldn't want to.
Someone didn't tell Bill.
My answer is, you better do it fast.
Quickly land and quickly get out of there. All right, thank you, everybody.
Always remember,
Neverland of Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
All right. To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.